Wheel of Sharp Weapons, Dharmarakshita. I make prostration to the three rare supreme gems, the throwing star weapon striking the vital point of the foe. I make prostration to the forceful Yamantaka. In the case of peacocks strutting in jungles of poisonous plants, although medicine gardens have been finely decked out, the masses of peacocks don't find them enjoyable. Rather, peacocks thrive on the nutriment of poisonous plants. Similarly, in the case of brave bodhisattvas, engaging themselves in the jungles of recurring samsara, although glorious gardens of delights and pleasures have been decked out, the brave ones are never attracted. Rather, the brave-hearted thrive in the jungles of suffering. Thus, it's the case that, despite our gladly taking on delights and pleasures, we bring sufferings onto ourselves through the power of our cowardice. But those brave-hearted ones take sufferings on gladly, and always are blissful through the power of their bravery. Now here, longing desire is like the poisonous plant jungles. Brave ones, like peacocks, can take it under their control, whereas to the lives of cowards, it would be deadly, similar to the case of crows. How could those with selfish desires take this poison under their control? And if they similarly tried to apply this method to the other disturbing emotions, it would take the life of their liberation, also similar to the case of crows. Thus, it's the case that the brave-hearted bodhisattvas, like peacocks, transform into a nutriment the disturbing emotions which are like the jungles of poison, and thereby engage themselves in the jungles of recurring samsara. In having gladly taken it on themselves, they're able to destroy the poison. So now, while we are circling in samsara without control, we must cast away our selfish desires, our desires for pleasures, our desires for delights. These messengers of the demon of grasping at a true self, and gladly take on for the purposes of others what's difficult to do. We must pile on top of this true self, that has desires for pleasures, the sufferings appropriate to each of the 9 kinds of beings, due to the push from their karmic impulses and their habituation to disturbing emotions. At times, if we've come under the enthrallment of our selfish desires, we must turn from them and give our own pleasures and happiness to wandering beings, just as, at times, if wrongs befall us from our circle, we need to compose our hearts with a sense of contentment, feeling, this is in return for having been distracted about my true self. At times, when unbearable sicknesses befall our bodies, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having inflicted harms to the bodies of wandering beings. Now let's take on ourselves all their sicknesses, barring none. At times when sufferings befall our minds, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having deeply disturbed the mind streams of others. Now let's take on ourselves all their sufferings, barring none. When we ourselves are tormented by terrible hunger and thirst, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back at us from having taxed, plundered, stolen, and acted miserly towards others. Now let's take on ourselves all their hunger and thirst, barring none. At times, when powerless, we're enslaved by others and are maltreated, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having been hostile to the lowly and exploited them as servants. Now let's use our bodies and lives for the service of others. When only nasty words befall our ears, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from our misdeeds of speech such as slander and the like. Now let's discredit all faults in our speech. When we're born in lands that are completely impure, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having always been habituated to seeing appearances as impure. Now let's habituate ourselves to seeing appearances exclusively as pure. At times when we're parted from helpful and loving friends, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having lured away to ourselves those in the circles of others. Now let's never cause anyone to withdraw from the circles of others. When all hallowed ones are displeased with us, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having forsaken hallowed ones and entrusted ourselves to bad circles. Now let's rid ourselves of bad friends. At times when others falsely accuse us of the wrongs of having done or having not done something, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from ourselves having denigrated the hallowed ones. Now let's not denigrate others falsely for having done so, for having done or not done something. At times when our material goods of necessity fall apart, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having considered of no value the necessities of others. Now let's help them acquire their necessities of life. At times when our minds are unclear and our hearts are unhappy, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having caused other people to build up negative force. Now let's give up providing conditions for others' negative karmic force. At times when we're frustrated from the depths of our minds that our works are never accomplished, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having caused interference to the hallowed one's deeds. Now let's rid ourselves of all of our interference making. At times when no matter how we've acted, it never pleases our gurus, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having acted two-facedly regarding the hallowed Dharma. Now let's minimize being two-faced regarding the Dharma. At times when people find fault with everything we do, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having belittled moral self-dignity and care for how our actions reflect on others. Now let's be shy with respect to uncivilized behavior. At times when, as soon as we've gathered a circle, disagreements arise, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having peddled all around our bad, ugly characters. Now let's act kindly towards anyone at all as our human characters. At times when all who are close rise up as our enemies, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having harbored inside us bad thoughts about others. Now let's continually minimize our pretense and cunning. At times when we're sick with consumption, tumors, or dropsy, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having had no morals and having commandeered religious offerings without caring. Now let's give up confiscating monastic property and the like. At times when all of a sudden infectious diseases strike our bodies, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having committed actions causing our spiritual bonds to decline. Now let's rid ourselves of destructive actions. At times when our intelligence becomes murky regarding everything knowable, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having made dharma manners into things that are fit to be left to the side. Now let's habituate ourselves to discriminating awareness, such as from listening to the teachings and the like. At times when sleep overwhelms us while practicing the Dharma, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having accumulated acts of defilement toward the hallowed Dharma. Now, for the sake of Dharma, let's practice what's hard. At times when our mental wandering is great, delighting in disturbing emotions, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from not having meditated upon impermanence and the drawbacks of samsara. Now let's maximize disgust with recurring samsara. At times when no matter how we do things, they go astray, never working out, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having made light of karma and behavioral cause and effect. Now let's make effort to build up positive karmic force. At times when the measure of our having performed rituals is that things work out contrary to what we have wished, This is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us for having placed our hopes and reliance on the side of black magic. Now let's turn away from the side of black magic. At times, when our requests to the three precious gems do not reach fulfillment, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from not having had confidence in the Buddhas. Now let's entrust ourselves exclusively to the precious gems. At times, when superstition, strokes, and possession by harmful spirits befall us, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having built up negative force with respect to the tantric deities and mantras. Now let's destroy all of our bad understandings. At times, when we have to wander about like people not under their own control, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having kicked out gurus and others from where they are staying. Now let's never expel anyone from any place. At times, when unwished-for things happen like frost, hail, and the like, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from not having safeguarded properly the morality of our spiritual bonds. Now let's keep our spiritual bonds clean and so forth. At times, when our desires are huge but we're poor in wealth, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from not having made donations or offerings to the supreme gems. Now let's make efforts regarding offerings and donations. At times, when our faces and bodies are ugly and our circle insults us, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having made ugly images and disturbed others with our anger. Now let's make beautiful images of deities and be long-suffering in temperament. At times, no matter how we try, attachment and anger upset us. This is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having stubbornly harbored unseemly bad streams of self-centered thought. Now let's pull out from the root the concepts of a true self and a true you. At times, when no matter what we practice, it does not reach its aim, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having held a bad outlook inside. Now, no matter what we're doing, let's make it something for the purposes of others. At times, when, although we've performed constructive actions, our own mind streams are untamed, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having gladly taken on grand ambitions for this life. Now let's hold tightly onto the wish for liberation. At times, when no sooner do we plan to do something, we reconsider and regret it, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from running after those in lofty positions as our new friends without caring how this reflects on our old ones. Now let's take care about how and with whom we make friends. At times, when we ourselves have been swindled by others' cunning, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma coming back on us from our selfish desire, arrogance, and greed having been great. Now let's minimize our trying to make profit off of anyone. At times, when attachment or hostility have led us astray while listening or explaining, this is a sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from not having thought about the demonic faults in our hearts. Now let's examine these adverse conditions and then rid ourselves of them. When everything good that we've done has elicited a bad response, this is the sharp weapon of negative karma circling back on us from having counterbalanced in an opposite manner all of our repayments of kindness. Now let's accept on the crown of our heads repaying kindness. In short, the strikings like lightning on our heads of disasters never wished for are the sharp weapons of negative karma circling back on us, like the murder of a swordsmith by his own fashioned sword. Now let's take care about our negative deeds. Our experiences as well of sufferings in the worst states of rebirth are the sharp weapons of negative karma circling back on us like the murder of an arrowsmith by his own fashioned arrow. Now let's take care about our negative deeds. And the strikings too, like lightning on our heads, of the problems of family life are the sharp weapons of negative karma circling back on us like the murder of parents by a son they have raised. Now it would be fitting forever to go forth as monks. That really is the way it is. So I've caught the enemy, I've caught the thieving bandit who laid an ambush and deceived me, the fraud who, disguised as me, then cheated me. Ha! This grasping at a true self, there is no doubt. Now, Yamantaka, raise over your head the sharp weapon of your actions. Circle it 3 times round your head in a forceful way. Plant your 2 feet wide apart for the 2 truths. Glare with your eyes wide open for method and wisdom. Bare your fangs for the 4 forces, and pierce the foe. O King of pure awareness mantras that torment the enemy, draw out the spoiler of our spiritual bonds, who brings ruin to ourselves and others, that vicious savage called the demon of grasping at a true self, who, causing us to get struck by the sharp weapons of karma, has been making us run through the jungle of samsara without any control. Draw him out, forceful Yamantaka, batter him, pierce the enemy, a true self, right in the heart. Crash, really crash down, right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Hung, hung, produce miraculous emanations, O great Buddha figure. Ja, ja, bind this enemy up tightly. Pet, pet, free us, I beseech you, from all of our fetters. Slash, slash, I beseech you, cut the knot of our grasping. Come here, fierce Yamantaka, you Buddha figure, pray, burst, right now. Pow, pow. This bag of karma and 5 disturbing emotions of poison, which keeps us stuck in the swamp of samsaric acts. Though having brought on ourselves the suffering of the 3 worst rebirth states, we rush towards their cause, not knowing to be alarmed. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our wish for happiness is enormous, yet we fail to build up a network of its causes. Our tolerance for unhappiness is little, yet our ambitious desires and greed are great. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, the true self, our foe. A true self, our foe. Our expectations for speedy success are high, yet our perseverance in spiritual practice is low. The projects we engage in are abounding, yet we never bring any of them to their end. Crash, really crash down, right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our new friendships are copious, yet the future of our concern and sincerity in them is short. Our longing for food is tremendous, yet our hard work goes towards striving to plunder or steal for it. Crash, really crash down, right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We are experts at flattery and indirect pressure, yet the gloom of our dispositions is thick. We're hard working to gather and accumulate wealth, yet despite what we have, we stingily clutch it. Crash, really crash down, right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. What we've done for everyone is little, yet our boasting about our hardships is great. What we've been responsible for accomplishing is nothing, yet our imposing posture is grand. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our spiritual teachers are numerous, yet our ability to carry the load of our spiritual bonds is minute. Our disciples are abundant, yet it being time to nurture and help them is rare. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our spiritual promises are grand, yet our practice of helping others is tiny. Our spiritual renown is tremendous, yet when it's examined, even worldly gods and demons would be ashamed. Crash, really crash down, right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. The extent of our listening to teachings is minuscule, yet our bragging and showing off with empty words is huge. The extent of our scriptural knowledge is tiny, yet understanding nothing we pretend that we understand a lot. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our circle of followers and attendants is vast, yet those who bear in mind what we say include none. The officials we know are plentiful, yet when we need backing and support we're bereft of protectors. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our status is lofty, yet our qualifications are less than those of a ghost. We're considered great gurus, yet our attachment and anger are coarser than those of a demon. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our philosophical view is the highest, yet our conduct is worse than that of a dog. Our good qualities are abundant, yet we cast to the wind their ethical base. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. All our innermost longings we keep hidden inside of us, while all our affairs that have gone crooked we blame on others, contrary to the fact. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We've clothed ourselves in robes of saffron, but then sought protection and refuge from ghosts. We've taken on vows of ethical discipline, but then made our behavior comparable to that of a demon. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our joy and happiness have been provided by entrusting ourselves to the heavenly Buddhas, but then we made offerings to mischievous ghosts. Our guidance has been fashioned by the Dharma, but then we've deceived the rare supreme gems. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We've entrusted ourselves to monastic seclusion forever, but then we've been carried away by distractions. We've requested the hollow Dharma and the spiritual sciences, but then nurtured others with prognostications with dice. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We've discarded our ethical discipline as homeless monastics to path to liberation and then grasped onto a home. We've thrown joy and happiness into the river and then run after woes. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We've discarded the ford to cross to liberation and then wandered about the ends of the earth. We found precious human bodies and then used them to accomplish rebirth in the joyless hell realms. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We've set aside the special benefits that come about through the Dharma and then tried to make profit through business transactions. We've set aside the Dharma schools of our gurus, and then wandered around the area of towns. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We've set aside our own livelihood and then stolen our income. We've set aside the sustenance inherited from our parents and then robbed it from others. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Wow, our fortitude for meditation is little, yet we expect our advanced awareness to be sharp. We've not taken the first step of the spiritual path, yet our legs are rushing after meaningless things. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We're given advice for our benefit, and then with angry mimes take the persons as foes. We're fooled by deceitful flattery, and then without a brain we repay their kindness. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We're trusted as intimates by others, and then reveal their innermost secrets to their foes. We're befriended in goodwill, and then, without care for how it reflects on them, rob them of their inner strength and courage. Crash, truly crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our short temper is perfect, yet our prejudices are coarser than those of anyone. We have difficulty in being friends, yet we continually arouse others' bad characters. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. When asked to do something for others, we don't listen, but rather covertly try to cause them harm. When we're agreed with, we don't bow and accept, but rather distance ourselves and seek to argue on. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We mentally get upset at others' advice, and then always have difficulty in being friends. Things that cause us offense are aplenty, yet our holding on to them is always tight. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Our put down of the high ones is heavy. We hold holy beings to be our foes. Since our lust is enormous, we eagerly take on young people as partners. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Since the future duration of our friendship is short, we cast off at a distance former friends. Since our new friendships are copious, we lay out before all of them empty promises of fun. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Since we lack clairvoyance, we must readily accept appreciation for our lies. Since we have no compassion, we snatch away the trust in us of others in their hearts. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Since our listening to teachings is negligible, we must scratch around and guess about everything. Since the extent of our scriptural knowledge is tiny, we generate distorted views about all. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Since we've habituated ourselves to attachment and anger, we berate all our opponents. Since we've habituated ourselves to jealousy, we libel and discredit others. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We haven't made proper studies, so we're dismissive of the vast teachings. We haven't entrusted ourselves to gurus, and so we berate their oral transmission. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. We can't explain the three baskets, so we feign teachings that we have made up. We haven't gained mastery through genuine pure visions, and so the gauge for the authenticity of our discourse is that we speak reprimanding. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Towards non-dharmic actions we don't make any censure, but towards all excellent explanations of the Dharma we spout forth with insult. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. Towards situations to be ashamed of we don't hold any shame, but towards what isn't to be ashamed of we distortedly hold them as shameful things. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of this butcher, a true self, our foe. What's proper to have been done we don't even do once. But what's not fitting to be done, we do them all. Crash, really crash down right on the head of this ruinous concept. Deal the death blow to the heart of the butcher, a true self, our foe. O Yamantaka, endowed with a blissfully gone Buddha's Dharmakaya, destroyer of the demon, the view of a true self. O wow, O you with strength and force, and possessing a skull-headed bludgeon, the sharp weapon of your actions of no true self. Circle it 3 times round your head with no indecision. We beseech you, free us from this enemy. With your great ferocious force, we beseech you, smash this bad thought with your great discriminating awareness. We beseech you, protect us from karma with your great compassion. We beseech you, demolish this true self once and for all. As much suffering that there is in samsaric beings, heap it definitely. I beseech you, on my grasping at a true self, as much of the 5 poisonous, disturbing emotions that there are in any one, heap it definitely, I beseech you, on this one who's the same class. Although we've identified through reason beyond any doubt the root of our faults like this, barring none, if you can expose any part of us that's still taking its side, we beseech you, demolish that very one who's taking it. Now having placed all the blame on one thing, let's meditate strongly on kindness towards all beings. Having taken on our own mind streams what others never wish for, let's dedicate to every wandering being the roots from our constructive acts. By having taken on ourselves like that the negative consequences of what others have done over the 3 times through their 3 gateways of action, may the disturbing emotions be transformed into aids for enlightenment, like peacocks having radiant color through feeding on poisonous plants. And by having given to wandering beings the roots from our constructive acts, and, like curing with medicine crows who have eaten poisonous plants, having saved then the life of liberation for all beings, may they quickly attain blissfully gone Buddhahood, till the time when we and all who have been our fathers and mothers attain enlightenment in Akanishta, the realm beneath none. May we mutually help one another to uphold but one mind, the bodhicitta aim, although through our karma we may roam through the 6 wandering states of samsara. During that time when we've undertaken to enter the 3 worst rebirth states, even for the sake of a single wandering being, we may we lead out of the sufferings of the worst rebirth states everyone there, never letting our great bodhisattva behavior decline. As soon as we've landed there, may the guardians of the joyless hell realms come to recognize us as their gurus. May even the rain of sharp weapons turn into showers of flowers, and may peace and happiness flourish, with there being no more harm. Then, when even those in worse rebirth states have attained advanced awareness and retention power for the Dharma, and, having taken on heavenly or human bodies, they've developed bodhicitta, may they repay with their Dharma practice the kindness received from us. May they entrust themselves to us, having taken us as their gurus. At that time, may all wandering beings in higher status rebirths as well, having meditated supremely on no true self of all things, similar to that regarding the true self of persons, then meditate with absorbed concentration non-conceptually on the equal nature of compulsive samsara and tranquil nirvana, and may they recognize themselves as being in this equal nature. If we've done like that, this enemy will be destroyed. If we've done like that, the concept of it will be destroyed, having meditated upon no true self with non-conceptual deep awareness. How could we not have attained the causes for the effect, a Buddha's form body? Hey, those like me, all of those things. Hey, those like me. All of those are things that dependently arise, and what relies on dependently arising cannot be self-supporting. Changing into that over there, and changing into this over here, their false appearances are an illusion. They are reflections that merely appear like a whirling firebrand. Like a plantain tree, our life force has no core. Like a bubble, our lifespan too has no core. Like a fog having descended, there are things that disperse. Like a mirage, there are things that are beautiful just from afar. Like reflections in a mirror, they seem so real, so real. Like a cloud or mist on a mountain, they seem to stay and stay. This butcher, a true self, the enemy, is like that. Seeming like it exists, and it exists, it never has existed at all. Seeming like it is true and true, it's never been experienced as true anywhere. Seeming like it appears and appears, it's beyond being an object that can be added or taken away. Whatever sharp weapons of karma that butcher possesses, although they, too, lack self-establishing natures, like this enemy does, they dawn like the reflection of the moon in a full cup of water. These karmic causes and effects are assorted displays that are false, yet, while being mere appearances, hey, I tell you, we must accept and reject the appropriate actions. When, in the dream world, there blazes an aeon-ending fire, though it lacks a self-establishing nature, yet we're still terrified. Likewise, what occurs in the joyless hell realms and the like lack self-establishing natures, yet because of fear of not being boiled, burned, and so forth, we need to abandon their karmic cause. When we're delirious with a fever, even though there's no darkness, we feel like we're passing into a deep, long cavern and suffocating. Likewise, although unawareness and so on lack self-establishing natures, we must clear away their delirium with the 3 types of discriminating awareness. When musicians are playing a beautiful song and we analyze, there's no self-establishing nature of the sound, yet when we don't analyze, a melodious sound which is in accumulation has been produced and then has relieved the torment in people's minds. Similarly, when we thoroughly analyze karmic cause and effect, although they lack self-establishing natures as being the same or as being different, and yet seemingly appearing and appearing, phenomena are made to arise and perish. And seemingly existing and existing, we experience various things arising and perishing, yet, while being mere appearances, hey, I tell you, we must accept and reject the appropriate actions. When a vase has been filled by drops of water, the vase wasn't filled by the first drop, and likewise not by each of the others, the last one and so on, but rather the vase is full through a dependently arisen accumulation. Similarly, when we experience any happiness or suffering as a karmic result, it isn't by the means of the first instance of its cause, and it isn't by the means of the last instance and so forth. We experience happiness and suffering through a dependently arisen accumulation. Yet, while being mere appearances, hey, I tell you, we must accept and reject the appropriate actions. Wow, these appearances of pleasant things which, unexamined, seem to exist as if all alone, have no core, and yet those things still appear as if truly existing. That's profound, but it's difficult for the lesser-minded to see. Yet now, when we totally absorb on this voidness, what is there even that is definitely merely appearing? What is there that is existent at all? What is there that's even non-existent? What is there anywhere that can be asserted as existence or non-existence? But if we place our intelligence, without any contriving, serenely in its primordial state, which doesn't contain objects, and what have those objects both having actual true natures, and which is parted from all accepting and rejecting, and parted from mental fabrication, we shall become great beings. By practicing conventional bodhicitta and deepest bodhicitta like that, and bringing to completion without interruption our build-up of the 2 enlightening networks, may we attain the splendor of enlightenment, fulfilling the 2 aims. Yamantaka humpe, 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 Yamantaka humpe. Colophon. In a jungle retreat where various fearsome beasts of prey roamed, Dharmarakshita, a great yogi endowed with scriptural knowledge, logic, and realization, composed this text called the Throwing Star Weapon, striking the vital point of the foe, in accord with in accord with the words of his hallowed gurus. Then he practiced it in that fearsome jungle retreat during his degenerate age. He imparted it to Atisha, and then Atisha as well practiced it, never just partially in this direction or that, in order to tame the many limited beings that were difficult to tame. When he developed realization, he proclaimed these verses, in fact. When I abandoned royalty and practiced difficult austerities, I built up the positive force so that I was able to meet my superlative guru. In showing me this nectar-like teaching, he conferred upon me the power of the Dharma. Having obtained an opponent for the present-day problems, I committed it to memory. When having spread my intelligence out and studied all around without being partisan towards any system, although I saw fathomless wonders in all of them, this teaching in particular has brought benefit in these degenerate times. From among the many unimaginable disciples he had in India and Tibet, Atisha imparted this teaching to the Upashaka Dromtonpa, who had been prophesied by fathomless Buddha figures, such as the vanquishing Lady Tara, to be their most fitting vessel, so that it could tame the uncivilized disciples of remote Tibet. The triumphant fatherly Atisha and his spiritual son Dromtonpa themselves served as pundit, teacher, and translator for it.